Thanks for staying and welcome back to the marketplace. Now, to our very first story, ratings agency Moody's is warning of an economic crisis for cocoa-growing countries like Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire. The agency is basing its warning on the 30% drop in cocoa prices. The following Business Desk report has more.
According to Moody's, the price of cocoa has dropped by 30% to a 10-year low and was trading at around 1,889 tons a barrel as at the middle of February 2017. The ratings agency says the significant drop would put pressure on Ghana's revenue from this commodity, a development that will affect government finances going forward. The agency maintained the development, if not handled well, could even affect Ghana's credit ratings because it impacts on budget overruns, economic growth and household incomes. Funds raised from international banks for cocoa beans purchased from local farmers has gone a long way to stabilize the city. Cocoa last year brought in some $2.4 billion and contributed around 6.5% to the economy and employs about 40% of the working population in the agric sector. Analysts say any crisis in this sector will not be good for the country, following recent revelations that Cocoa Board has exhausted the almost 2 billion cedis raised for cocoa purchase last year. This means that government would have to embark on another fundraising for cocoa purchase before the end of the crop season.
The minority in Parliament is predicting government's decision to remove taxes on utilities and petroleum products will not bring much relief to consumers. Now, Parliament on Monday approved an amendment to the Energy Sector Levy Act that will see the price you pay for electricity and fuel reduced by 3% and 5%. The move will cost government 308 million cedis as a result of a reduction in the public lighting levy from 5% to 3% and the National Electrification Scheme levy from 5% to 2%. Deputy Minority Leader James Aveji is, however, unconvinced and is questioning why transport fares are still going up in the light of these tax cuts.
The transport associations like GPRTU and those unions, they fix the fares. Government hasn't done that. What government can do is to go and appeal to them to ensure that they put in factors that will not increase the fare astronomically. What is the reason given by the increase in fares? They are saying that it's an accumulation of increase in what? Petroleum products and other factors. So my question is that if you are saying that you are reducing the duty, that is the VAT on the petroleum products, what one expects is that this should result in a reduction in fuel prices, one. Then it will go further to reduce the fares. So if you are reducing taxes, yet the fares, the lorry fares are increasing, your policy is making negative impacts. That is the point I'm making, and it's simple.
Meanwhile, minority spokesperson on energy, Adam Mutawakilu, says government should rather scrap the 17.5% tax on petroleum products if it wants consumers to enjoy some reliefs.
If I consume 150 units, at the end of the month, I'm expected to pay 216 Ghana cedis. With this effect, I'll pay 206 Ghana cedis. So the effect is just 10 cedis. So you realize that it's not significant enough. As they claim that the electricity bill was so high that it is even more than the rent paid. I don't think this will reverse the situation. And therefore, consumers shouldn't expect any drastic reduction in their electricity bill. For industrial consumers, it is even insignificant. And that is why we're saying that they should tackle the VAT component in terms of non-commercial consumers or the industrial consumer.
Which is the 17.5%.
They should take out the VAT. That will stimulate growth.
Isn't that too much to ask? 17.5% of the cost.
I could remember
on
exactly when the then presidential candidate, now president, met GI, that is the industries, and said that he's going to reduce the electricity rate significantly to stimulate production, which will translate to employment. So if he now the president, just take off the VAT, and that will enable them to stimulate production and translate to employment. So the net effect is that individual will not feel it at all.
All right, so those are some comments by media, I beg your pardon, by parliamentarians on the tax cuts. Moving on, the media coalition against Galamsey is seeking a more drastic measure from government to deal with the menace of illegal mining in the country. At the launch of its advocacy campaign in Accra, the group is seeking, among others, a moratorium on alluvial mining in the country. Matilda Wemega has more.
It is a campaign that has intensified over the last few weeks following shocking reports of massive destruction to water bodies and farmlands across the country due to illegal mining activities. Pressure has been mounting from various quarters on leaders to halt the fast-growing menace that is depleting natural resources of the country. A 3-week ultimatum is currently under force to get all illegal miners to quit their activities or face the rigors of the law. With about 15 days to end this directive, a coalition comprising media organizations and concerned bodies have come together to fiercely fight against illegal mining to save the rest of the country's resources. A member of the steering committee to champion the media campaign, Kenneth Ashigbi, is calling for a moratorium on alluvial mining.
In the times that we find ourselves in, where water is becoming a major problem, I think you need to consider the issue of a moratorium on alluvial mining. Yes. Be able to stop it and be able to stem it. Currently, you can't control it. Say that let's halt for a while. Maybe it might be a year. Let's make sure we put plans in place, train our people well, put the systems in place to check it. But
Kenneth Ashigbi speaks of how they intend to sustain the media campaign.
okay. Well, so with the positive pressure, basically what we're going to do immediately is that with the petitions that we have outlined that we are going to get signed, we are going to go engaging most of these key stakeholders. When we go as well, one of the things that we would also do is that we would ask all of them to give us two things that they are going to do. So these are things that then we will be able to get our media partners to also be able to follow through and say, we will move to the MPs as well. We would produce content that would show people who is doing what.
Water and Sanitation Minister Kofi Ada, Lands Minister John Peter Amewu, and Minister of Information Mustafa Hamid also pledged to collaborate with other relevant ministries to ensure a reclamation process is undertaken to recover all ravaged lands due to the illegal mining activities.
And what we have done recently in the ministry, since I assumed office, is I put moratorium on all small-scale licenses. And it's surprising to know that I have not signed any single small-scale license since I assumed office. This is an attempt to sanitize the system. So this is the difference. Some of the small-scale who are originally mandated within the regulatory framework by the concession to mine in a sustainable way are also not doing that. They are equally illicit miners.
Implementing our own plans in terms of ensuring that the areas where we take the water from, particularly the immediate vicinity of the intake points from Ghana water, we'll be able to dredge, clear up that area and make sure there's enough good quality water that we can draw up and then treat and distribute to households and businesses. So we have our own plans that we're working on in terms of detailed designs and the work that has to be undertaken to ensure that the water is available. If you take the Daboasi area, the water that supplies Sekinita Kradi, we're working on that.
The media coalition against Galamsey includes the Multimedia Group Limited, the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation, the Graphic Communications Group, GIBA, New Times Corporation, the Ghana Journalists Association, among others. For Joy News, Matilda Pamaga, Accra.
In another development, Ivory Coast is not pleased with activities of illegal miners in Ghana. They claim the activities are affecting the water bodies in that country. Minister of Environment, Science and Innovation, Professor Kwabena Frimpong Boateng, made this known at the launch of the Media Coalition Against Galamsey Menace in the country.
In Abidjan from Wednesday to Saturday for a conference, and I was confronted with Galamsey almost immediately. I'll give you some documents when we finish this. The effect that the Galamsey in Ghana is having on the Côte d'Ivoire, because River Bia enters Côte d'Ivoire almost at the lower tier. and Tano enters the lagoon and is polluting the Abbey Lagoon. And so they cannot even treat water in some of their water treatment plants. So they took advantage of my presence and organized a press conference. So I met the Minister for Environment, the Mining Minister. Exactly. And they asked me to speak to their people. And of course, I made it clear to them that we are very serious with stopping Galamsey. And I was able to convince them that indeed they are serious. And the good thing is that they always made reference to the good relationship between Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire, and especially between Nana Adonai Akufo-Addo, our dear president, and President Alassane Ouattara. But then, as if
away from Galamsey, and Stanbic Bank says government can achieve its revenue targets for 2017 only if it puts a freeze on salary increments of public sector workers. Government has pledged its commitment to ensuring that public sector workers are best served and well remunerated, but economists of global markets for Stanbic Bank, Ayomide Mejabi, warns that the development could see government suffer major budget overruns.
To be fair, Ghana's salary increases have been increasing at a pace that's slower than inflation over the last couple of years, but we suspect that there has to be a total freeze in Ghana's salary increases somewhat before we can see the debt levels coming below 70% of GDP that they are at the moment. Furthermore, the interest payments that Ghana has to contend with going forward, those also need to be tackled in order for the fiscal consolidation drive to continue. So our view is for Ghana to benefit from the positive sentiment that it has experienced over the last couple of weeks. The government really needs to show progress on the fiscal front. First of all is elongating the yield curve in order to reduce interest payments, but also giving a clear plan on salary payments going forward, a plan to show that salary payments will come in lower than they currently are. The challenge is between interest payments and salary payments, those two account for about 60% of total revenues in Ghana, and that clearly is not a sustainable model. The share of capital expenditure needs to increase in order for infrastructure spend to continue, and Ghana can then benefit from increased growth levels.
Now, some bank customers are demanding banks respond to their issues promptly. This is coming in the wake of concerns that for every 100 phone calls bank customers make to get their issues addressed at the branch level, only 21 eventually get answered. The Banking Industry Telephony Efficiency Byte Index by market research firm Wallsbridge recently revealed this. Now, the survey done by way of telephone mystery shopping and also showed that almost half of the calls are simply ignored. To what extent is really the case of this? Some customers have been sharing their experiences with Joy Business.
Okay, I once made a call to a bank, and then I don't know, maybe from the feedback you're getting, but I made a call and then they picked up, and then I wanted to find out information as to their T-bills, their treasury bills, and then maybe if you want to make an investment or something. And then the person who picked up was really nice. She spoke to me and then advised me on the ones to pick and everything. So I haven't really had an encounter with any bank that I call and then they don't pick up.
I was sent an email and I wanted to follow up, but I realized as I was calling, they weren't picking up. That was the experience I had. It was once, not normally.
So what did you do then?
I just stopped calling.
But you had wanted information on something.
But I had no option. Since I was calling, they weren't picking up. I had to stop calling.
I recall a time where I wanted to close one of my bank accounts, and it has been 4 months now. I've not been able to close it. Whenever I go, they keep on giving me other issues, blah, 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 a whole lot of things. I'm very frustrated about that.
So if you call your bank and maybe you need something and no reply, that means the business maybe you need something to do, and it will pull you back. So I think it's not good. It's very bad.
Yeah. So how best do you think we could tackle this matter?
To take this matter I think maybe the Bank of Ghana have to put its leg down so that they can talk to the bankers, so that they can understand to people, they can stand to their customers.
Away from that, as the British High Commissioner, His Excellency John Benjamin, prepares to leave Ghana in June this year. The controversial diplomat has been sharing some thoughts about his stay in Ghana. In an interview with Joy Business, the outgoing High Commissioner also commented on the unprecedented appointment of 110 ministers in the present administration. He believes the end will justify the means.
I'm leaving in June, which means there's still a few weeks to have another conversation if you want to. But yeah, I'm into my last, I guess, 3 months. It's sad. I love Ghana very much, but that's just the fate of diplomats. We have these chapters of 3 or 4 years in different countries, and we move on. And in my case, I'm going back home to London. It isn't just about Ghana. I think it's about UK or anywhere. What really matters is what do they do? What's the performance of the ministers who together make up the government? And then the people decide, right, every 4 years. So in 2020, the people of Ghana will be asked to decide again what they think the performance has been over the 4 years of this government. So I think performance matters more than numbers. But of course, whoever is in power in Ghana, whether it's MPP or NDC, what we want is Ghana's success, and we'll always work very happily with any government that is voted by the people of Ghana.
Now, plastic waste is a problem in Ghana. According to the Institute of Industrial Research of the CSIR, 1,500 tons of solid waste is generated in Accra every day, and out of this, 70% is plastic. Globally, about 10 to 20 million tons of plastics end up in the seas and oceans every year. The result is $13 billion a year in losses from damage cleaning up ecosystems, as well as financial losses to the fisheries and tourism sectors. The World Watch Institute says businesses and consumers could increase their participation in collection in order to move plastics wastes toward a recovery supply chain, and companies could switch to greater use of recycled plastics. Sheila Tamaklo looks at the plastic waste trade and recycling in Ghana.
Now, this is a common sight at most of our beaches. Now, according to research, about 1 million tons of waste is generated in Accra only on an annual basis. Now, out of which 14% is actually plastic. But this is not just waste, it could actually be a source of lucrative business for individuals. According to research by CSIR, we could generate 1.2 million Ghana cedi from recycling of plastic waste. But how can we exactly achieve this?
Locals in this area gather the plastic bottles to sell to people who want to use them to hold seawater and other liquids.
These bottles that you see around here, they are bottles for business because people come here and then they want a little water, but they don't have anything to put in. So these bottles, you buy one for 50 pesos. Oh, okay. Yeah, so that you can take your water and then you take it along to your various homes. That is the reason why you see these bottles here.
So when the tourists come,
yeah,
they actually buy bottles?
Yeah, they buy bottles here because they need the water and they don't have anything. Yeah, so they choose to buy the bottles.
Plastic waste is a problem in countries like Ghana, where the most common types include polythene, polyvinyl chloride, that's PVC, and polypropylene.
We're looking at things in tons of waste generated in a day because plastics has become more or less part of our daily life. But when you find use of the plastic waste, when you have economic use of the waste, then it no longer ceases to be a problem. So we can have small thermal generators where you incinerate your waste and then you use the heat that is recovered to turn turbines that would power small communities.
Collection of plastic waste is largely in the hands of private entities such as Environment 360. They collect and resell plastic waste.
And this is one of about 20 locations around the city. Yeah, we pick up.
So usually how much plastic waste are you able to pick from? Yeah.
How much?
Yeah.
You mean as in the weight?
The weight, yeah, the content you pick from.
Yeah, let's say 25.
Something like
like water sachet, depending on demand, it can go anywhere from 70 pesos to 1 cedi per kilogram. So on average, that's probably about 700 to 1,000 Ghana cedis you're going to make per ton. You have other plastics that are PET bottles that we happen to see a lot, particularly in our beach areas, which have a very low market value. That's actually only 30 pesos per kilogram. So you're only going to be able to make 300 Ghana cedis per ton from plastic bottles. But there are other types of plastic, for instance, the high-density plastic, like the 4 gallons, which go anywhere from 1 cedi 10 pesos up to 2 cedi, depending on the quality of the material. So when you start really moving into HDPE, now you're making anywhere from 1,100 Ghana cedis per ton up to 2,000 Ghana cedis per ton.
Other plastic containers which are not gathered by small individual collectors or small NGO initiatives make it onto a bigger heap, which is then collected by large entities like Zoom Lion. Zoom Lion has a recycling plant in the outskirts of Accra for recycling plastic waste. So this is the Accra Compost and Recycling Plant. Now, this facility was set up to receive, sort, process and recycle solid and liquid waste. So this facility also largely recycles about 70% of plastic on a daily basis. So today you join me and we're going to the plant and find out how recycling is done. The plastic waste is recycled in phases, and the process begins with receiving the waste before it is sorted.
And as you are seeing, the materials that you are seeing over there are our raw materials. So when the waste contractors bring the waste, they bring it directly to our receiving bin over here. And we have a pre-loader over here, the pre-loader, that scoops it and then feed the uniform feeder over here. The work of the uniform feeder is to receive the material. After receiving it, it distributes it on the conveyor belt. So what you are seeing, the belt you are seeing over there is called the conveyor belt. So it lifts it and then send it to a room over here, which is called the primary sorting room, the secondary sorting room, before we also sort them manually and then mechanically.
As you can see behind me, this is where the separation begins. Now, this side we can see the light plastics, which are your sachet waters, and this side are the PET bottles, which is the water drinking bottles, and on this side are the high density bottles. And all this is separated here before they are taken for recycling. Now, this plant, as you can see, receives 1,200 metric tons of plastic waste on a daily basis, out of which 600 tons are actually processed for recycling. And plastics alone make up 70% of this waste.
We have the PP, which are broken materials from our household. Those are the cups, the plates and other things. And then the second one that you are also seeing came from gallon families. Something like the 4 gallons, those yellow gallons. At the end of the day, we shred them, we palletize them, and we send it this way. And then we sell it to companies.
Okay, so how much do you usually sell it for?
A ton, which is about 1,000 kg, goes for 3,200 Ghana cedis.
To the local market?
To the local market and then to the international market. But most of them, we prefer selling it to our local companies for us because we want to build our local industries.
Recycling may not be the only panacea to the problem of managing plastic waste, as many other initiatives have been considered, such as the banning of the use of plastic below 20 microns in density. But recycling can add value.
I know there are schools of thoughts and there are people who are advocating that plastics should be banned. Well, I also have a different thinking to all these.
All right, so that report was by Sheila Tamaklo. Now, Ghana is a good place to do photography. More people are entering this space every day, but the market still has a lot of unexplored areas. That's what brought these 3 entrepreneurs with a passion for photography together to form Team 1000 Words. Their ambition to change the African narrative through photography.
Michael Dakwa, Timothy Adai, and Emmanuel Gamo share a common passion, photography. They are co-founders of Team 1000 Words, a rising name in the field of photography in Ghana. The 3 were individually pursuing their passion and did not meet until 2013 when they had to work together on a couple of projects. They thought they could do a whole lot more with they came together to pool their creative abilities, and that's when Team 1000 Words started. The name of their company is derived from the cliche, a picture is worth 1,000 words.
Come a bit and then good. Hey, step forward just slightly. Yeah, it was good that we'd had personal journeys. We were actually in good position because we had a bit of equipment. So in coming together, we were able to start the company with quite enough or substantial equipment at the beginning, and then we were really strategic with what we wanted to achieve.
Team 1000 Words broke into the market through wedding photography. There was just something different about the pictures they took. But soon, the team decided to invest in content generation, driven by the desire to tell a positive story about Africa.
All right, so you catch the full story of the Joy Business Fund tonight on Business Live at 5 p.m. And this is where we draw the curtains down on the marketplace for today. My name is Emmanuel White.